Surge. Theo Von. I used to not have a very big problem with Theo Von, but after this interview with I used to give him a little bit of a grace in terms of his accompaniment in the Joe Rogan universe sphere, the group that he surrounds himself with, just because he's a little bit of a dumb guy, and I'm sure some aspect of that is a character and him playing into that role a little bit, but the way in which he handled this interview with JD Vance, it is crazy to me. Is this split up into chapters? Of course it's not split up into chapters. I don't want to listen to this whole thing. But it's crazy to me that he had this interview with JD Vance, and oh my God, he looks horrifying. The entire interview was presented in this fashion of hey bro, listen up bro, hey man, we're just bros chatting, having this conversation with JD Vance. He went on camera having an awakened opinion on the Palestinian situation, the genocide happening. As he was making this video talking about the Palestinians, he was in tears. He was talking about the way that they've been subjected to violence, to abuse, to torment. He then goes on to talk to JD Vance, the Vice President of the United States of America, again while playing into this sort of dumb guy role routine, and discuss with him the issue of Palestine.
And on the Gaza thing, just sort of chat about
on the Gaza thing.
I mean,
on the Gaza thing. Yeah, it's pretty disgusting. On one day he's happy to cry and make a video about how Palestinians are being tortured and it's disgusting and they need to be freed. And then the next day he's having a discussion with JD Vance. And I brought this video up specifically because I wanted to talk about these stages of genocide, specifically because please go away, cookies. Yeah, sure, you can cookie me up, Cookie Monster. Oh no, now they're French cookies. I think my screen's in the way. No, I can't show it. I got a cookie warning, but now it's in French. Yeah, you can have my French cookies. The last stage of genocide is denial, specifically the perpetrators. The perpetrators being, I don't know, maybe the American government who's been funding weapons and funding Israel this entire time throughout this ongoing genocide of the Palestinians. The perpetrators of the genocide deny having committed their crimes. Victims are often blamed, evidence is hidden, and witnesses are intimidated. So with that in mind, here we have the President of the United States, JD Vance, having a conversation with Theo Von, somebody who I would argue is not equipped for this conversation. And I don't say that in a way of I am equipped for this I would not be equipped for this conversation. Get upset and have a loud voice. I don't think Theo Von is prepared for this conversation. You simply don't have opinions. You're the Vice President of the United States. You have policies. You have agendas. You have pieces of a machine that you are trying to cram together in a way to manufacture consent to get Americans on board with this funding of a genocide thing. You don't want to call it a genocide, a Gaza thing. Let's watch for a sec.
Human being. So I look at this stuff, I see these videos, I see the pictures, and it's very heartbreaking.
Oh, it's so sad. It's so sad.
Like what we're trying to do here is try to solve two problems here. Okay, so on the one hand, you've got innocent people, innocent Palestinians, and innocent Israeli hostages, by the way, who are caught up in this terrible violence that's happening as we speak. Okay. And we're trying to get as much aid and as much support into people as humanly possible. That's one thing that's going on.
We're trying to get as much aid in as humanly possible as we allow the Israel to maintain the blockade, allowing aid to get into the sites. As we allow Israel to kidnap Greta Thunberg, I believe is the correct pronunciation, but kidnap Greta and in a humiliation kink put her on a plane and send her back to France as a victim after you've acted as terrorists against their flotilla in international waters.
The other side is Israel's attacked by this terrible terrorist organization. I think people sometimes forget that, right? They forget, like, the thing that kicked this off is that we had this terrible terrorist attack, and you had a lot of innocent Israeli civilians die in that terrorist attack. And so,
I'll say it once. October 7th was a horrific event. I followed that up by bringing up one of quotes, RFK oppression quote. I want to get this right. Why is it so hard? Here it is. Those who make peaceful revolution impossible will make violent revolution inevitable. What are you supposed to do if you have been subjected to an open-air prison, an apartheid state, in which you have been othered to the point that you are demanded to wear different identification while you're in the Israel section of your land, while your people are displaced into 3 different camps, 3 different sections based off of status, based off of their goodness as a Palestinian, determined by the Israels. What exactly are they supposed to do? October 7th was disgusting, and I would never condone any type of violence whatsoever. But in the great words of John F. Kennedy, those who make peaceful revolution impossible will make violent revolution inevitable. We see this time and time again with every force that has been every community that's been oppressed.
I think what we're trying to do in the Trump administration with that situation is to get to a peaceful resolution. And I think the peaceful resolution looks something like this. You've got to give Israel confidence that Hamas is never going to attack them and kill a bunch of civilians. And then you've got to get as much aid and support into these innocent Palestinians as possible, because in some ways they're caught in the middle of this thing too. One thing that I like...
1,200 civilians. Absolutely disgusting. Would never support that, would never condone that. Again, the figure of 50,000 Palestinians is outdated. We are up to about 500,000 Palestinians that have been killed by Israel directly from the actions since October 7th.
I don't love about the whole Israel-Palestinian debate is I think it kind of degrades our humanity a little bit, because I've seen people on the left, mostly on the left, who will say, well, they'll completely ignore that Israel, like all these innocent Israelis were killed in this terrorist attack. And then you have some people...
Oh, we didn't ignore that. That was crazy.
People usually on the right who will completely ignore that there are like kids who are caught up in this violence. And I think it's why...
They do that. That is a thing I see them do.
The president has been, I call him the president of peace. It's why he cares about solving this problem, because the longer
that age like milk,
the more suffering, the more death. So we're trying to solve it as much as we can. It's not easy.
Do you have a say in it?
Yeah, of course. I mean, well, the president's obviously the person who makes the final decision all the time. But yeah, I mean, we certainly, I think I'm one of the few people that he's talking to constantly. We're constantly, we're talking to the Israeli government. We're talking to people in the Arab world. We're talking to people in the Palestinian territories. Like, we're constantly engaging in diplomacy. I mean, one of the crazy things, dude, is... One of the crazy things about the Israel-Palestine thing, the debate, one of the things about it... This guy is a very dear friend of diplomacy. I mean, one of the crazy things, dude, is...
One of the crazy things,
This guy is a
dude...
very dear friend of the president's. He's our special envoy to the Middle East. Steve Witkoff, he's a Jewish guy, very pro-Israel. He's done more to try to bring this conflict to a close than anybody. And you sometimes have people who say that they're pro-Israel who attack Steve for not being pro-Israel enough. And I think it's totally bogus. Like, I see this guy operate every single day. He actually is. Like, he's a Jewish guy who believes in the purpose of the state of Israel. He also is a guy with a heart who's trying to prevent the killing.
Yeah.
The purpose of the state of Israel is to maintain a majority Jewish demographic, to maintain a Jewish ethno-state. Again, to maintain an ethno-state that requires the displacement and the getting rid of other people that do not fit into the mold that you see fit. Specifically, this means that you have steadfast rights as a Jew as a Jewish person to be able to go over to Israel and claim land to be able to live in Israel. And during that process, taking land away from a Palestinian, that seems like a fair trade, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I think there's just like when I talk about this whole debate has caused us to lose our humanity. I think of the people who are constantly going after Steve because this is a guy. He's a father. He lost one of his own children because of an overdose, and he loves people. He believes in the value of human life, and he's doing a really good job. And he's one of the important people in the president's ear too.
Yeah, it seems like I've heard of Mr. Witkoff, but I never met him. But
Good dude.
Yeah.
You should have him.
Good dude. Good dude. Let me tell you, he's a top tier dude. Let me tell you, in terms of dudes, he's at the top. He's a primo dude. Hundo P. Primo dude.
I think I think the tough thing just as a regular person, right? It's like we're seeing all these videos of people like picking up pieces of their children and like,
Of course.
It's the sickest thing I think it's ever been televised. Basically, if you consider watching something on your phone
It's
being
very
televised,
sad, man.
it's a mass. It feels like a massacre, and it feels like I've called it a genocide. Other people have different thoughts about it, and that's fine, right? And I don't need anybody to share the same thoughts or you two. But I think where it gets scary is that we give, we're complicit in it because we help fund like military stuff, and that's where it's like a regular.
You want to say that we're complicit in it and that we're part of the problem. Meanwhile, you're sitting across from the guy and saying that's actively has a role in shaping this, and you're saying, hey man, we've got different opinions. You don't necessarily have to agree with me. You don't need to agree with me on this. I don't care if you don't agree with me on this particular thing. I'm not going to push back. I'm not going to push back too hard on this particular thing that, is disgusting. People picking up pieces of their children. Absolutely. I'm not going to harp too much on us having differing opinions on that. It's okay if we have different opinions. But it's upsetting to see, no, again, this is not an opinion. You're talking to the Vice President of the United States. This is a matter of policy. It is the policy of the United States Vice President that this is not a genocide, that the treatment of the Palestinians, while disgusting, doesn't constitute a show of force strong enough from the United States in a matter of cutting off the capitalist material funds that we are providing to Israel to continue this exact treatment. Like, you were sitting across from the person that has power to directly stop Israel having the weapons to do this, and you're saying we don't have to have the same opinion. Again, this is not a person that is prepared for this type of interview. Again, I'm not the type of person that is prepared for this type of interview. It's an incredibly difficult thing to do, and the right plays into this. The right takes advantage of this every opportunity that they have, and brings in every person that they can onto Joe Rogan, so you can have that great ape just knuckle drag his way through a conversation. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, and anything anybody says, any nonsense that anybody wants to spout. They can go on his show and they can talk about.
You're like, well, I'm paying these taxes and they're going towards this, like, but you can't do anything, like you can talk, but it's like you can't. I don't understand how it becomes like tough for people. Like sometimes it feels like we look out for the interests of Israel before we look out for the interests of America.
Again, this age like milk as we lay down fire and strike and brimstone over Iran, trying to destroy their nuclear facilities. Yeah, this aged beautifully. It's almost like we care about the interests of Israel more than America.
Say a couple things. So number one, like, I think you're a great dude. So we don't always have to agree on everything.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt again. I'm losing my mind. If I hear JD Vance say, I think you're a great dude, so we don't have to agree. We don't have to agree on everything. I think you're a great dude.
Agree on everything. Do I think do I think it's a genocide? No. And here's the reason why I don't think it's a genocide, because I don't think that the Israelis are purposely trying to go in and murder every Palestinian. I don't think that's what they're doing. I think they got hit hard, and I think they're trying to sort of destroy this terrorist organization. and war is hell, and that is true. I also think it's true, man. I mean, I've seen people on my side of the political aisle. I'm a Republican, you know that, but your audience may not, who like will see these videos of these innocent Palestinian kids and say, "Oh, well, they had it coming to them." No. Like if you have a soul, your heart should break when you see a little kid who's suffering. Which is why we have the policy that we have, which is we're trying to eliminate the conflict, eliminate the source of the conflict, so that we can actually bring some peace and some humanitarian assistance into people. And that's my basic view. And yeah, the president's interesting. He's a pro-Israel guy.
Yeah.
And he also recognizes that to bring any conflict to a close, you've got to talk to everybody.
Yeah.
And so, we've been attacked. I've been attacked. The president's been attacked for being too interested in diplomacy. And you ask, like, what can I do? I think that what people should demand is that if our tax dollars are going to something, we should be actively trying to fix it. Okay, that's kind of the way that I think about it.
Yeah, if we have a problem with the way that we have a problem with the direction that our
And you ask, like, what can I do?
tax
I think
dollars
that
are
what
going.
people should demand is that if our tax dollars are going to something,
I want to get the
we should
subtitle
be
up.
actively trying to fix it.
If our tax dollars are actively going to something, we should be actively trying to fix it. Not if that thing is something that we have a problem with, just in general. Not if that thing is something that we want to make better, just anything. If we have tax dollars going to it, we need to fix it, whether it's broken or not. I think this is absolutely disgusting, the way in which he frames this entire conversation. This, again, virtue signaling of, I think it's heartbreaking. Like, anybody with a soul can see that Palestinians that are being murdered is just disgusting and shouldn't be happening by any means whatsoever. While at the same breath, what was it that he said? I want to make sure that I get this right. War is hell. War is hell, guys. War sucks. You know, it just sucks that these Palestinians just got in the way of all the rubble that fell from every building that was destroyed. Every piece of Gaza, everything that's just been destroyed of Gaza, all the before and after images of Gaza, everything that they've done to this poor country. Dude, it's fine. They're not trying to go in and murder every Palestinian. They're just trying to go in and murder every Palestinian that gets in the way of any bullet that's already flying through the air from a gun pointed towards them. They are they're not trying to murder every Palestinian that gets crushed under the falling rubble of every bomb and missile that they send into highly densely populated areas. Every missile they send into hospitals. It's fine, dude. I don't think they're committing a genocide. They're not actively trying to murder Palestinians. They're not setting up drones to have sounds of crying babies and injured people outside so that they can lure people out into the streets and then shoot them with snipers. They're not actively trying to murder Palestinians. That's why I don't think it's a genocide, dude.
Doing. I think they got hit hard, and I think they're trying to, like, you know, sort of destroy this terrorist organization, and war is hell, and that is true. I also think it's true, man. I mean, I've seen people on my side of the political aisle. I'm a Republican, you know that, but your audience may not, who like will see these videos of these innocent Palestinian kids and say, "Oh, well, they had it coming to them." No. Like, if you have a soul, your heart should break when you see a little kid who's suffering.
Again, the virtue signaling is crazy. Like you care. Yeah, I think you're grossed out that they're brown.
Eliminate the source of the conflict so that we can actually bring some peace and some humanitarian assistance into people. And that's my basic view. And yeah, the president's interesting. He's a pro-Israel guy.
Yeah.
And he also recognizes
gotta be pro-Israel.
To bring any conflict to a close, you've got to talk to everybody. Yeah. And so, we've been attacked. I've been attacked. The president's been attacked for being too interested in diplomacy. And you ask, like, what can I do? I think that what
Oh,
people
yeah,
should demand
I forgot about this
is
piece.
that if our tax dollars are going to
I got so
something,
excited about the
we should
first
be
piece of this, I
actively
forgot
trying
about
to
what I
fix
wanted to
it.
say about
Okay,
this
that's
piece. They say this as they actively, you know, I remember this little thing happening where there are some protests happening in this city called, I think it was Los Angeles, where protests took up, I think it was like, I think overall it was around like 8 square city blocks. Like it was such a blip on the actual radar of LA. LA protest map of map in city. Will that get me the image that I want? I want to see. Yeah, so I mean, in terms of like the Friday clash, like there was or the Friday clash, the LA protest. Like there is some happening down I think near the Compton area as well as in downtown LA. But this idea that they were taking over all of LA is just false. And so we have people that had a problem with the way their tax dollars were being spent. So these people, they went in and they took to the streets to communicate the only way that they knew how that they had a problem um, with the way that their tax dollars were being spent. And what was done in response to this, in response to the rise of public outrage, to ICE Gestapo acting like brutes in the street, rounding up people like in ways would have Anne Frank crying about, happened in response to, again, the people rising up upset about this. They sent in the National Guard. They sent in Marines. Police violence escalated to insane places. Like the idea of go out and just, talk about the problem to be able to fix it, as if they don't do everything they can to stomp out any kind of organized protest, organized resistance at the smallest to the largest level.
That's kind of the way that I think about it. And what happened with the Biden administration, man, it's crazy. They were spending so much money all over the world, they weren't engaged in diplomacy at all. So we sent $300 billion to Ukraine, for example, and you never had the President of the United States actually trying to force a diplomatic settlement. When you talk about bodies all over the ground, dude, the Russia-Ukraine thing is the most vicious. We see satellite images, we see classified images.
That's a nice pivot.
It is vicious, and again, it's I will hear people who will say, well, they're. Again,
let's talk
those
about
on our
this
side will
instead,
say,
huh?
The Russians got killed. That's a good thing. Look, I'm not defending the invasion. I'm not defending starting a war. But when human beings are getting blown to bits, your heart should feel sad about that, and you should try to do something to fix it. And that's what we're trying to do. And we get crap for it.
But don't be a Colombian student demanding that your school divest from Israeli companies. Don't do that, or else we're gonna make sure that you get deported and sent to CCOT down in El Salvador, like Mahmoud Khalil. Don't do crazy things like demand that people be held accountable for the atrocities committed against the Palestinians. Be happy that we're upset that when Zohran Mamdani says that when Bebe Netanyahu would come to New York, that he would arrest him. The again idea that they care about any of this is just crap. It's the military-industrial complex having a way in which they can siphon off their spent resources. After they get rid of the weapons that they've been holding on to for years, they can create contracts to be able to build new weapons. The weapon contractors make a whole bunch of money selling those weapons to the highest bidder. As those weapons get filtered out from our government contractors, in which we give those weapons to the IDF, the Israeli forces, to be able to use on the Palestinians, to be able to use in their training devices after it gets watered down and filtered through, and we use it on enough brown people that we normalize it to then it can be used on white people. Once we get to that point, then those same weapons are then given to then those same weapons are given to the NYPD, the U.S. police forces. The IDF actively trains most U.S. police forces, and again gives them those weapons. So
Makes me feel the best.
it's
about
all
my
it's all
job.
just a part of the machine, and the idea that you care about the Palestinians being blown up is just false. You don't care. JD Vance, you don't give a shit. The only thing that you care about is making sure that the machine continues, because at some point you were shuffled into a dark room and told what would happen if you didn't make sure that these certain things with Israel happened. And that's how we got here today.
Whether it's in Israel or Russia, Ukraine, like we're actually trying to bring this stuff to some settlement and to some close. And if we do, we're going to save a lot of lives. And if we don't, it was worth the try.
Yeah. Yeah, I just have one more question. And I want to say, yeah, I recognize that it's like you can't expect people to do stuff immediately. You can't expect things to happen overnight.
Sure.
And that you get into a place and there's a lot of people that are already there, and you have to figure out, how do I make my way in this? How do I figure out to get some of the things I want, and I have to give up some of the things that I also want, right? And so I just want to let you know that I recognize that, and I think I learn to recognize that more, I think, the older that I get, and learn a little bit more about politics. It's not just like this guy got the job, everything's going to be done immediely.
Yeah.
I do want to ask
Good
really
point.
quick, this is important because there's a lot, like President Trump talked about this. He signed this executive order to make price transparency for healthcare, right? And for hospital
that it?
bills and medical billing.
Yeah.
And we talked
Is
about
that it?
last time you were on, you said your wife was giving birth and you didn't even know like how much it was cost to take, and you're like, how much is it? If you're like, well, shit.
Is that it?
Could it be?
Is that all the
They could
pushback?
be pressured. I mean,
I'm thankful that you're spending time with me.
no.
Oh,
you're
I'm
good.
thankful you're spending time with me.
So-
I'm skipping ahead. Is that all of the?
Oh,
just
yeah.
because he was sort of
Is that all of the pushback that we had?
Or one of the treatment.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's all the pushback that we had on Palestine. He's past talking about Palestine now. Yeah, I guess he was just comfortable with agreeing to disagree with JD Vance about it being a genocide, and being fine that they have differing opinions. Because, dude, we got. I don't think a genocide's happening, so therefore it must not be. I don't think a genocide is happening. The perpetrators of the genocide deny having committed their crimes, as 500,000 Palestinians are dead, most of which unknowing, or most of which we don't even know about, as they're simply buried underneath rubble. Anyway, I wanted to talk about this because I do not think that there is a space for me on this platform to be able to talk about anything that I want to. Including news, including One Piece, including as I eventually plan to talk about Pokemon, as I plan to talk about cheese, as I plan to talk about leftist politics. I don't believe that there's any room on this platform for me to not have an open and vibrant voice on the Palestinian issue, I think, as this gentleman would call it. So I would simply like to openly say, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. There is no negotiation when it comes to Palestinian liberation, and that is my stance on the subject.